How's it going, guys? Back with another video today. Just wanted to drop by real quick and just give a quick response video to Manny Ortiz's latest video on the Z6. He made a video about how he cannot recommend the Z6 because of back focusing issues when using IAF for his portraits. And I have a few thoughts on this. And first of all, I want to say that I know that a lot of people are sensitive about camera stuff online. They're sensitive about their brands and their gear. And when people, talk smack or say something that's not good about their brand, they tend to get very upset. I am not like that. I am brand agnostic. I do use the Z6 and the Z50, but and I've invested in it, and I love it, but I do not care if somebody else uses a Sony. I don't care if somebody uses a Canon. The last thing that I think anybody should be concerned about is brand gear or anything like that. What I think, I say this all the time, I think a camera chooses you, you don't choose the camera. And I believe that when you go and pick out a camera, when you put it in your hands, something like that, I mean, at least for me, the camera spoke to me. And I felt like I could get the most out of it, and it was sort of a tool that was meant for me. So I feel like that's how you should look at cameras, and it should be a tool, nothing more, nothing less. Once you pick a camera, you should get outside and start shooting, and the information that you consume online about it should be how to increase your photography and not what's better, what's worse, and why, and I need to stick up for this. But I do feel that the Z6 and the Z-mount cameras have gotten a lot of undue hate and a lot of ill-informed negative press. And I feel that's one of the reasons why I started this channel, is I felt like, the people who are addressing the cameras and reviewing them were doing so from a very limited standpoint in terms of how much they've used the camera or used the gear. A lot of people, it seemed like they were just picking it up, using it for a weekend or a couple days, and then going out and making these elaborate videos and making these blanket statements about the cameras that were not based on any type of real-world use. I don't even watch gear reviews from other YouTube channels because, or very limited, because I don't watch something. If they're reviewing 50 different types of cameras and different brands, I don't listen to them, because that just proves that you're not hardcore using that specific camera, and you really cannot review a complex camera system or complex instrument like a new age digital camera just using it for a couple weeks. You really can't. Like, you need to really be educated and learn the features and how to use them before you make informed decisions or recommendations on it. And obviously I'm not telling somebody else how to run their channel. You can do whatever you want, but personally I just don't listen to somebody reviewing a piece of gear unless I know that they've used it for a long time. I hope, preferably in a professional setting where they're getting paid for it, or they're relying on it for an income. So his issue with it was he was using the autofocus and IAF and face tracking, and for sometimes when he's doing the portraits, it would back focus, and he was re-hitting the AF on button and it wouldn't retrack to grab the face. So first off, let me just say, I feel like, and this goes for me too, it's not just taking shots at anybody. First of all, I feel like we've been spoiled, okay? A lot of people getting into photography now just expect the camera to do absolutely everything for them, and for them to turn it on and just work without having to make any decisions or any effort into grabbing the photos. IAF is a very new thing. Face tracking is pretty new. Even tracking modes in cameras aren't that new. I mean, we've had 3D tracking for a while, and the Nikon camera and other cameras, but still, the hardcore face tracking in IAF is a new thing, and it seems like people just want to turn on the camera and not have to do any work, and for it to absolutely focus for them and grab every single shot without them having to do anything. While those features are nice, I don't feel like that should be completely relied on, and if it's not absolutely 100% perfect, it makes an unusable camera or an unrecommendable camera. The autofocus on the Z6 is not as good in AFC as the Sony cameras. That's not a new statement. Nikon is definitely behind, but their autofocus is not trash by any means. It's not bad, and like I've said a million times, you know, I shot 40 weddings with my 4 Z6s this year, countless engagement sessions and countless family sessions, over 300,000 shutter clicks across my Z6s this year in 1 year. So if there's anybody who knows what they're talking about with these cameras, it's me. And also, I would not have used, well, let me just say this statement with emphasis. I would have not bought the Z cameras if they did not perform for me or they inhibited my workflow. And that's the truth, guys. My business pays for my gear. So I can have Sonys, I could buy A9s if I wanted to. I could buy, you know, EOS Rs if I wanted to. I could buy D850s again, you know, if I wanted to. I could buy D5 if I wanted to. It's not about anything other than the cameras work for me and they work very well. But that being said, there is a learning curve with the autofocus. It's not the same as coming from a DSLR or something else. You have to learn the camera. And that goes beyond turning the camera on, pointing it at something, and then just expecting it to do all the work for you. The Z6s and the autofocus systems are pretty damn close to that though. They do track extremely well. With the new firmware updates we've had, they have come a long way and they're great. Like I said, they don't inhibit my workflow and I'm getting phenomenal results out of them. And if I wasn't, best believe I'd be using something else, because my business is number one and that's the most important. Producing images for my clients is way more important than me saying I have Z cameras. So now that that's out of the way, he wasn't using the latest firmware updates. The new firmware updates have improved autofocus. His autofocus settings, and if I'm wrong about this, somebody correct me. You know, Manny, if you see this video, correct me if I'm wrong about this. But his autofocus settings were probably on the stock settings that come with the camera, which are slowed down. Okay, the improvements to the autofocus, how I set my cameras, they're in another video. I'll link to it right here in this card. You can go check them out if you want, and those seriously improve your hit rate a lot. Everybody's, you know, a lot of people who've been watching this channel have seen that video, and I've gotten massive amounts of positive feedback with it, and I use it on my own cameras. So the firmware updates, settings were set to stock settings. He was also using the FTZ adapter with a non-native lens. Yes, it was a Nikon lens, but the S lenses are native to the Z cameras and the Z mount, so you get much better tracking and performance out of the S lenses. Now, I understand that you should be able to use Nikon lenses with the FTZ adapter and get good performance, and you can, but it's not as good as the S lenses. The S lenses are in a different ball game. They are completely 100% made for these cameras, and they knock, I'm not going to say they knock the G lenses out of the park in terms of performance, but there's definitely a noticeable performance, especially with the face tracking and the IAF. They just work better, 100%. The second thing is, or the fourth thing I guess, is if something is back focusing, how is it an inhibition to your workflow just to grab the focus wheel? Or, you know, you have your peaking highlights, like I've gone through in another video. You hit the back button focus or half press the shutter, and you know, turn the focus or the focus wheel, and you're back to whatever focal plane you need. It's just a 2-second grab. If you notice something's, you know, focusing to infinity, you just grab the wheel, spin it the other way, and something's in focus right there. It's not that difficult. It's really easy, actually. 2 seconds. I mean, I'm used to, at all my cameras, since I've started shooting, I've always had to grab the focus wheel sometimes and refocus. Something isn't, you know, a camera never has 100% always not back focused or front focused on something. It's just using the focus wheel is part of photography, in my opinion. I mean, and it takes 2 seconds. It doesn't inhibit the workflow at all. So those are big issues right there that could have really improved the autofocus. And it just shows that if you spend a little time with the camera more than just using it for a little bit, a couple days or weeks or something like that, there's more that you can get out of it. And using a system day in, day out, you start to learn these things. And it doesn't make it a bad camera, you know, or a poor camera or unrecommendable camera if you can't just turn it on and then automatically flip in, you know, just automatically the camera does everything for you. It's a lot deeper than that. The other thing I wanted to bring up is, you know, he put his friend Jose on the phone on FaceTime to say that he didn't like the autofocus either. And I didn't really understand why he would do that. It doesn't really prove, if anything, it kind of makes his point look negative, because who is Jose? Okay, I mean, the guy just gets on the phone and says, I thank you for letting me borrow the camera. So he borrowed the camera, which means that he only used it for a very short amount of time, who knows how long. But you can't figure out a camera and make a blanket determination on all of its functions borrowing a camera and just using it for like a day or two. If that's even how long he used it, who knows? But I mean, who is Jose? I would like to know. I mean, are you a professional photographer? I mean, how hardcore how much do you know about these autofocus systems? Have you used it for, you know, multiple jobs? I mean, have you put tens of thousands of shutter clicks through the thing? I mean, I would have liked him to maybe talk to somebody has more in-depth experience, because just having somebody get on the phone and saying, hey, I like Nikon, but I used it for, you know, I borrowed it for a weekend and I can't trust the focus system. Well, a focus system to learn and to make sure you're getting the most out of it takes a lot longer than just borrowing the camera for a short amount of time. It really does. So I would have liked him to talk to some type of expert or something like that on it. But overall, guys, the whole point of this video is autofocus and the autofocus systems of cameras take time to get very good at. They do. And to think that you can just flip on a camera and then automatically everything is going to be perfect and you're not going to have to put any work in or time to make sure that all your photos are sharp or you can get a very high hit rate, in my opinion, is like, in my opinion, that's just something that's ridiculous to think. When I go buy a camera, I'm committing to learning it, and it's not going to be off the bat that I'm going to get the most out of it. So it's too bad that people want to review cameras like that. And this is why I don't listen to 99% of YouTubers. I do not go, and this is why I only review one system. You're never ever going to see me, guys, do a Sony a7R IV versus the Z6, because I don't use those cameras, and I don't use them professionally, and I don't use them day in and day out, so I shouldn't be making blanket statements on their performance. I can tell you guys everything about the Z-mount cameras because I use those every single day, and you know, I know them, so I can tell you exactly how they perform in and out, and you know, what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are. But you know, that's why you come to this channel, is because you know, hey, I do photography philosophy, I do education about you know, different types of techniques, but any camera gear stuff I talk about, it's going to be related to the Z-mount, because that's what I know. So I don't, and another thing, I hope you guys are still listening to this, you don't click off, because I don't think that Manny should be attacked or anything like that. I feel like people, when they say, you know, in my eyes, it was incorrect. I don't think he was lying, but I don't feel that he had enough experience with it to make a blanket statement like that. And then his friend Jose definitely didn't, because he said in the video that he just borrowed it for a little bit and then said he didn't like it. So I feel like we need to educate these people and help them learn what we know. And I don't think that anybody should be attacking anybody else because, you know, they have a view that might be not as informed as somebody else's. We should help people understand the benefits and the strengths and the weaknesses of everything without making it a combative thing. So, you know, if we can try and help educate them, maybe he'll do another video on it, and maybe give it a little bit more time and try and go out there and learn a little bit more about it, because the Z cameras really are phenomenal. So thank you guys. Also, I want to say I appreciate you guys tagging me and bringing up the info. I saw somebody wrote under his video hey, you know, the Monochrome Memoirs says to did a video setting your autofocus settings like this. I've started to notice that people are grabbing some tips of mine that I say about the camera and just sharing it online as their own, which it's too bad. I mean, I would appreciate, I'm glad I'm helping people, but I would really appreciate you guys, you know, give me a shout out, you know, if you learned something from me and you're going to share that information online, say, hey, this is where I learned it from, because, you know, like I said, I spend a lot of time putting this info out there for you guys. So I really appreciate the person who wrote under that and said that it was my video where you learned that. Thank you very much. So hopefully you guys found this helpful, and hopefully we can, you know, spread some more awareness about how good the cameras really are in the future. So let me know what you guys think about this, and thank you again for all the support, my friends.